Hey, it's Matt Pinfield, and I'm really excited to be here today with an incredible group of musicians and one of my favorite producers to talk about the Stand Up and Shout Foundation and this incredible cover of that classic from the Holy Diver album from Ronnie James Dio called Stand Up and Shout. And this cover that is being done has actually been recorded to raise money for the foundation, and it's just so important. So I'm excited to have the group of guys with me today, and we're going to be talking all about the recording of this song as well as what everybody has been up to so far. So it is going to be great. So thank you so much, everybody, for checking us out today. Now, I'm going to start with Terry LeRoi. Now, Terry, of course, is in the band, which you know is Granny Four Barrel, and they're so great. And you might know the song Nitro Sexy. It was a big hit, of course, on Octane, but, you know, he's done so many different things. Terry, talk to me about putting this project together and, you know, being really from I guess an hour away from where Ronnie James Dio grew up and where his family was from.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, Matt, thanks for hanging with us today, man. This is great. You know, I'm from upstate New York, right near Syracuse, actually Oswego, but we just say Syracuse because that's easier to say. Most people know where that is. A little less than an hour away from Ronnie's hometown. So last year, November, Granny Four Barrel had a week's worth of shows in LA. We had a show at the Whiskey. We were going to make an appearance at the Bowl for Ronnie event in LA. And then we had a gamer show that we were going to play. And we heard that Wendy, she might show up at the Whiskey show. If she shows up at the show, let's give her a surprise. And I've been singing Ronnie Dio songs for years. Ronnie's one of my biggest influences vocally. And I thought, hey, let's put a song together. Let's do Stand Up and Shout because that's one of my favorite songs to sing. So that's how it started. She did come to the show. We had our friends there, Bob Chiappardi, Chip Ruggieri, Todd Singerman came in with Wendy Dio, and we played the track. She loved it. It was a great evening. A couple days later, we did the Bowl for Ronnie event, which was amazing, and finished up the week, and then we came home. After we got home, Wendy contacted us, and she really enjoyed the band, and she said, love to have you play for the Ride for Ronnie in May. This, 2020 is the 10th year anniversary of his passing, and, we want to be able to, do all these special events. We'd love to have you be part of this. And we said, great. So then that was the plan. Fast forward to, early in the year, COVID starts. So things start getting canceled, and then eventually everything got canceled. We thought, what could we do to, support this organization, Stand Up and Shout? And, well, in the back of my mind, I'd always wanted to record a Ronnie Dio song. So I got a hold of David Bendeth, and I said, hey, David, what do you think about doing a song and, all the proceeds go to Stand Up and Shout. We can support the organization. He loved the idea. And at this point, I can refer to David now because this is how we got in touch with all these other fantastic musicians.
That's great. So David, you and I have known each other a long time. I've been out at your studio. I've been in your old studio. I've watched you mix and produce records that are recordings that were done in the 1950s that were classic, from Elvis to some of the greatest rock records that have come out in the last 30 years. So being a big fan of your work and knowing the network that you have of artists that have really loved your work or have a history with you, I want to hear from you. When you, of course, decided, all right, this is a great idea, tell me how you ended up reaching out to everybody and how this thing grew.
I tell you, casting this was so much fun.
Yeah.
Because it was like casting a movie. And in my mind, I had the perfect guys. Because I love everybody that's on this call and appreciate their talent so much. So basically, I had to sit, well, we're going to do this remotely. So it has to be somebody that has access to, a place to play. And somebody that can just tear the living hell out of their part and send it to me, and then we can edit it and put it together. So really, I didn't do that much because the playing was so great. So the first guy I called was a young Sammy Boller, who's up in Michigan, and he's such an amazing guitar player. I mixed his record last summer, and I've had him come up to Toronto to play on some records.
I mean, he's incredible. He really, his instrumental album, I love that record, man. I'm telling you, it's so good.
Steve Stevens told me, he said, you gotta check this kid out. To me, he's a kid, but he's, of course, a grown man. And when I mixed his record, I was blown away, and I loved when we got to meet each other. It's even better because Sammy's such a great guy, and is such a music sponge, right, Sammy? I mean, you and I went to breakfast and we spoke about music for, it had to be 3 hours. Our eggs were cold, and we just couldn't stop. And I miss him. I wish we could hang out more. So Sammy was like, "You want to do this?" He's like, "Are you kidding? Charity, done." Second call was, Will Hunt. I think it was Will Hunt or Aaron. But Aaron and I go back. We've made 2 records together with Mice and Men, and Aaron's just the greatest bass player. He's the greatest singer. He's the greatest songwriter. To me, it was instant. I knew Aaron was going to pick up the bass. He was going to learn the part, practice it, and send me a banging bass track produced at his studio. And of course, that's exactly what happened. Then came Will Hunt. And I'm just going to say Will Hunt and I go back even longer to Dark New Day. And of course, I've used Will on all sorts of records where I'm not going to mention the bands, but they've got themselves in some trouble. And of course, Will Hunt is the go-to. And it's just like clean up with a mop. And it's cleaned up, and it's like Will comes in and cleans up the mess. Cleans up the mess,
He's a fix-it man, right?
He's a fix-it man.
That's great.
He's also, and Will and I have been working a lot together over the last few years, and we've always had the greatest, funniest relationship. We laugh at a lot of the things we do, and we've both been doing it so long. I'm, of course, older than Will, but Will is just, okay, I'm just going to say it. There's not many drummers in the world that could have played a Ronnie James Dio song that's moving at 220 BPM. That's really fast, and nail it in a couple of hours. And of course, it took me 30 seconds to come up with Will Hunt's name. So Will Hunt nailed this, and he got really excited about it. I might let Will take over here before I go on, because Will just handed this track that we were all working on in pieces over to another good friend of mine, Troy, that they've been working together for years. In fact, I'm going to say this. I got them their gig in Evanescence. Hey, I got them both an audition that turned into, well, it wasn't even an audition, because I think they practiced for 3 days with Amy and then went straight on a tour. And when I recommended them, there was no question in my mind for 1 minute that they wouldn't get the gig. And I think they were sort of wondering, but I'm so proud of them, and I love them both, and they've done me proud. But Will, I'm going to ask you to take over and say what happened next with Troy.
Well, first, I love you, Dave. There's a lot of kissing going on in this Zoom call. It's legitimate.
So good,
legitimate kissing. But I was, Troy and I had gone to Nashville, met each other in Nashville, or were about to meet each other in Nashville to start the new Evanescence record. And I said, dude, Dave called me about this charity Dio thing, and like, you got to check this out, man. And I sent it to him, and then he sent it back. He's like, check this out. And he put guitar on it. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, it's incredible, man. I'm like, and I sent it to Terry and to Dave. I'm like, dude, you got to hear this. I'm like, I'm just going to send this to you. And then Dave and Terry talked about it, like, oh yeah, we need to add him to the track. And it's cool because Troy, Evanescence is a certain thing that we get to do, and we're blessed and love it and all that stuff. But this is a whole other side of our playing and, music that we love that we don't really get to express in that, on that canvas. And it was really cool to get to do this. And, super cool for Troy because, you know, he plays incredibly, and I don't think a lot of people know him for being able to play this style and kind of rip like that. And it was beautiful for me to be able to hear that, you know.
I made a whole record with Troy as his producer for a couple months, and he never played like that. And I was like, oh my God. Like, this is, and then I had a problem because Sammy's, oh my God. And I got two oh my gods. And I went, let's trade off, you know, at the end. And we let Sammy start the song because, you know, Sammy's intro is insane. And so at the end, it was like adding all these ingredients in a pot. And it couldn't have been better. And I couldn't have been happier with the results.
That's great. Troy, talk to me about getting involved with this and how excited you were to be working on a track of Ronnie's.
Yeah, when Will called me up and was telling me about it, I mean, I'm a huge Dio fan, always have been. Vivian Campbell is, you know, I grew up admiring his playing, and he's a big influence for me, you know. Not necessarily on my playing style, but he's an amazing guitar player. And I actually met him at NAMM one time and got my picture with him. But Will, you know, he was like, you should check this out. And I just played guitar on it. You know, I played some rhythm guitar on it, and I was like, fuck it, man. I'm going to put some solos on here. I couldn't resist.
Yeah.
So I threw it on there and I sent it back. I was like, check it out. And he's like, oh, shit. And I sent it to Dave because, I mean, you know, he's right. I don't get to do a lot of solos in Evanescence. It's more of a rhythm kind of band, you know, based on rhythms and you know, tight, chunky guitars. So it was fun to solo on it and get to practice my chops for a few minutes.
That's great, man. Well, it came out really great. There's no question about it. I want to say, Aaron, welcome, man. It's good to have you here. Huge fan, of course, of Mice and Men. I haven't seen you in a while. I've been running into you, I think, since Aftershock or Rock on the Range before it was Sonic Temple. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. How you doing?
I'm good, man, but I'm always happy to see you, man. And, you know, I was really excited that you were part of this project. So talk to me about Ronnie James Dio, his vocals, and what he means to you as far as his songs and songwriting goes.
So, you know, it's funny. Right around the time that I got the phone call for this, I had started teaching bass lessons at the local Let There Be Rock school in Fountain Valley.
Yeah, and I'm wearing a shirt. Let There Be Rock right now.
And it was funny because one of my students was actually asking about wanting to learn some Dio songs, and I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'm going to go home and start doing my homework. And it was almost serendipitous that I got the phone call to do this. And I mean, anytime you get to honor the legacy of metal and you get to kind of retrace those steps of where, you know, certainly where bands like mine come from, I think where we all kind of come from, you know, with rock and heavy music in general. I think anytime you kind of get to go back and you know, tread those footsteps again, you get to learn a lot, you know. So it was a fun process, you know. I kind of started doing it, you know, like tracking bass like I would in a studio, doing it bit by bit by bit, and I was like, doesn't have the feel. And the drum tracks were so good, I just turned it up, just stood right here, like where I'm sitting, because I'm sitting at my computer where I do the work, and just jammed through it like 2 or 3 times and sent it to Dave. But I was like, here you go. This is what feels good. So, I mean, I think the track just feels so good because it's just such a, I don't know, it's just a bastion of heavy music.
Heavy music and just really great. I see your 2 basses over there from here. Yeah, right to the right of you.
That's it. This is the workstation. It's literally this is where I go crazy.
So when you decided to lay down that bass track, you literally just said, "I'm going to play this through. I'm going to do this thing," and just. Yeah,
I was kind of taking it in sections, and it didn't feel right. It was kind of strange. So I think I played it through maybe 2 or 3 times and sent them all to David and was like, "Here you go. Do something with this."
which is amazing, you know, and it came out great. Now, you know, Sammy, you being from Detroit, right? Detroit has always been a great rock and roll and a great hard rock and metal town forever. I mean, so many great things out of there. And, you know, having done an instrumental album with great songs like, you know, Kingdom of the Sun and the things that were on there, you know.
Thanks, man.
I mean, but certainly, of course, you've always appreciated all the great guitar players that Dio's played with over the years, whether it's Tony Iommi, right, or Vivian,
Absolutely,
who we spoke about before, Richie Blackmore, all these great guys. Tell me about your approach to this, and tell me about when you discovered Dio yourself and realized that you were a fan of the music.
Man, I got into Dio when I was really young. You know, it's kind of like I kind of grew up on, you know, like Sabbath and of course Dio and Heaven and Hell and all that. And I was a huge Vivian Campbell fan as well, like Troy said. But I hadn't you know, sat down and tried to learn something like this in so long. Kind of like Aaron was saying, you know, going back and relearning it and all that was really, really cool. And it was funny, Aaron, when you said that, where it's like, when I first sat down to cut it, it was like, you know, all right, I'll try to do it piece by piece. Like, you know, usually you do it. And then I was like, man, this just doesn't totally feel right. So I ended up doing kind of like a similar thing, cutting the rhythms, you know, just kind of doing a couple passes, going, all right, Dave, do your thing with it. But it was really cool, man. It's a real honor. And as soon as Dave sent me the track, I was like, oh my God, it's so killer. Because he sent me the drums and bass. And it's like, I was just texting him, like, man, this sounds fucking great. You know, so yeah, it's a real honor.
Yeah, it's great. You guys did a great job. David, one of the things that I've known from working with you directly, you know, on tracks or watching you record is that, you know, you're a very, very honest producer. You don't pull any punches. You know, you work to get the best out of your artist, but you're very honest. And I'm sure everybody in this room knows what I'm talking about, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
You guys know David. I mean, he'll tell you exactly what the deal is, and that's one of the things that I love about him. David, tell me, I mean, were you so pleasantly surprised when you saw what the guys were doing, everything that they were sending to you?
You know, Terry and I had to talk about it because I was also I'm working with Terry at the same time doing his vocals. We had 3 different vocal sessions with Terry, and they were all interesting because they were all on the phone and on, you know, a computer. So they would do something and then send it to me and then stop. So we were going back and forth. But what was interesting, I think I picked these guys instinctually because I knew each one of them wouldn't need me.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds crazy, but there was nothing to produce. These guys are all so good. I just let them do their thing, and I think I should do that more. You know, what was interesting, and I know this is a little strange, but there's 5 or 6 generations on this call. Yeah. And that really shows the power of an artist when, you know, years and years later, here we are, all, it is maybe 5 generations or 6 generations of us all doing this song that means something to us. And I think that's the one thing about all of us here is we all have that appreciation for greatness. Yeah. And all of us hold ourselves to that. And I feel that was the key to doing this so well with everybody.
Absolutely. It came out amazing. Yeah. Now, tell me how familiar everybody, I mean, like your personal experiences. I mean, we lost Ronnie. It was you know, it was heartbreaking. We lost him to stomach cancer, and that was such a blow to rock and roll and to metal. There's no question about it. But this foundation is amazing. What they've done for research, for leukemia, for AIDS, for cancer, all the things, raising $2 million, working with the TJ Martell Foundation to try and raise more awareness. It's just pretty amazing. Tell me about, and Terry, you might want to answer this question first, why you decided this was so important to you. Was it the fact that you missed Ronnie and loved Ronnie? Did it touch you personally in any way with someone in your life?
Yeah, definitely had some experiences with cancer in my circle, you know, my family and friends. And so it's true to my heart. It means a lot to me. And at the same time, Ronnie Dio, like, I mean, basically, I mean, there's a few vocalists that have been an influence, but really the number one influence for me has been Ronnie Dio. And every band that I've ever been in, cover bands, professional bands, we've always had some type of Black Sabbath, you know, Ronnie Dio, per Ronnie Dio, or Dio song in the set. And I just felt like this is one of the songs that I mean, it just means a lot. And Will made an important point not that long ago. When we finally finished this song, he said, wow, Terry, I don't know if you realize this or not, but this song is more relevant right now politically than maybe we even realize. And he's right. Stand up and shout, the power within inside yourself. And he's right about that. So, the song, it has a lot of meaning, because of the Cancer Foundation, because of musically and artistically Ronnie Dio, and also thematically because of what the song says.
Yeah, and it's telling people to empower themselves and be
Exactly.
heard. And I think that's one of the things that's really special about it. Now, I'm going to ask you guys all, being there, every one of us got into doing what we do because we love music. We love rock and roll. We love metal. We just, that's the way it is. What was the first thing that you remember hearing from Ronnie, and what would you say was your favorite song or album? And it could be any period of his career. So I'm going to start with you, Terry.
All right, so hands down, the Mob Rules album. That's my favorite album. But the first time I ever heard Ronnie Dio, Heaven and Hell was actually a song in regular rotation on I guess, well, you call it active rock now, but it was just on a station in Syracuse, New York called 94 Rock. And Heaven and Hell was like, that was the song. I mean, you heard that as the popular song. So that's what got me hooked on Dio. But then once I was hooked, then I delved into Rainbow, Elf, the whole Dio catalog. But my favorite, hands down, album is Mob Rules.
It's great. It is a great one. Absolutely. Troy, I'm going to ask you the same question now. Favorite song or first thing that you heard, or both, from Dio?
I think probably some of the first Dio I heard was definitely Sabbath, Heaven and Hell, the Mob Rules, and I'm with Terry on that. That song even is one of my favorite songs. I love the energy of the Mob Rules, and I listened to everything Dio did from the time I discovered him in Sabbath up through his solo career. He's just an amazing singer.
Yeah, truly one of the greats. Absolutely. Will, I've got to ask you the same question. Will Hunt, what was the first thing you heard from Ronnie James Dio, and do you have a favorite album or song?
The first thing I heard was Rainbow in the Dark. I was watching MTV, which is starting to kind of come around, and here was this guy that looked like a man witch with white boots. I was just like, what is this? And he started singing, man, that first line, and it's just like, holy shit. And I was like, shut everybody out, and like, don't bother me, something's happening. And I don't know, I think that was my first time hearing him, and obviously there was a lot before that, but that was my first entry into it. And I think to this day, man, for me, that's my favorite Dio track. I mean, there are many, but that just sums it up to me. It's just like, that's the best of everything, and he had such a kick-ass band. That's the other thing. It's like he was really smart, kind of like Ozzy, putting these other guys around him that were just fucking phenomenal. And he it's, I don't know, that's a fucking great record, great song, great everything.
Absolutely is. You love those albums. Holy diver. Now and now I would really love to I'm going to ask you, David, because, I mean, David, you've been listening to rock and roll like me all your life. We've been around a while, right? We've been doing our thing. So is there a favorite? For me, I mean, there's so many things, but one of the things that really got me into Ronnie was the second Rainbow album, Rising. And I love this song called Starstruck on there, which I got to see them perform live at the New York Palladium when I was a kid. And that's when I first saw Dio live. And I was like, man, I love this guy's voice. He was just kicking complete ass, and they were great. And playing with Richie Blackmore, because I was a big Deep Purple fan too, of course. So that was great. Go ahead, David, tell me your story.
My drummer for 4 years, and I had met him in New Jersey, in fact, where I live right now in Montclair, was a guy called Chuck Burgee. And he was in my band on the road with me, and he was the drummer in Rainbow.
Wow. No kidding.
Yeah. If you look at my second album, he's the drummer on, him and Billy Cobbin were the drummer. And then we wrote 2 or 3 songs together, and we recorded them. And the reason I ended up in New Jersey is because of Chuck Burgee. who also went to school, I think, with Joe Walsh. Chuck now plays with Billy Joel.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So he's another guy I've worked with over the years. Chuck, we did a tour with Phil Collins. Phil Collins had a band called Brand X.
That's right. He was there. That was the jazz fusion thing he had going.
So we opened Brand X's tour and Chuck had just played on that record, and then we opened for them with Phil Collins in the band.
Wow.
So it was strange. So I would always hear these great stories about Ronnie Dio from Chuck Berge, and he would just tell me, I don't know what the years was, but was it Man on the Silver Mountain? I'm trying to think of the record I was listening to. There was like the record that Chuck did with Richie Blackmore. I'm trying to think who else was in that band. I think Jimmy Scott. Was the bass.
Jimmy Bain.
That's it.
Jimmy Bain.
I see my memory still there.
Jimmy Bain was a badass bass player. He was great.
Badass bass player.
And of course, he co-wrote this song that you guys just did, which is Santa
So when we warmed up, Chuck used to play these cassettes live of some of the stuff that he'd worked on when we worked together. So I get to hear these off the board stuff, and it was ridiculous. His voice and he didn't sing hard or heavy. It was always, not screaming. It was like very light musical. And he had great pitch, of course, and great energy. So he was always up there with, the Uriah Heeps of the world and what's his name? Ian from Deep Purple. He was just and he could tour. Could that guy tour? I mean, they toured for years and years and years, nonstop. We're talking
they did.
Such a long career. And I think Vinny Appice was in the band with him as well, right?
Yeah, Vinny was. Yep, Carmen's younger brother.
That's right. So I always said this since we did this. Will Hunt is the only guy that can hang with Vinny Appice out there.
Yeah.
Right now.
Right. I'm old.
Because who else could do that with feel? Nobody.
That's a difficult track to play, man. I didn't even know what I was getting into when I started it. We started, we rolling the tape. He's like, okay, so get into it about, 20 seconds. I'm like, hold up. I'm like, I got to do some push-ups and some jumping jacks. I got to get myself into this because it's so fast. And I don't think I really realized how fast it was. I mean, and Vinny's just such a monster, man. He's such a badass.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's incredible. Aaron, how about yourself, man? When you, looking back on the career of Ronnie?
So I think, one of the first songs I ever heard of Dio a long time ago was Holy Diver. And, I think it's one of his most popular songs. It must have been on a movie or a movie soundtrack or something, maybe perhaps. I didn't really start diving into it until my student asked me to start learning about it, to start learning just about, metal. He's like, I want to learn about metal. I was like, okay, well, what are some of your favorite metal bands? And he lists Dio. I was like, okay, well, let's start diving in, and then you start, you dive into Rainbow and the Sabbath records, and there's just such a massive depth to his catalog that I never even realized. And I think somebody could, you could spend years going into it and just the different players that were on different records. And I'm not familiar with the history, but it's something I can kind of appreciate and discover for the first time.
It's amazing. I'll tell you guys a story. It's crazy that Ronnie is one of the few people that has been recording since like the late 50s who was on at least two labels that the Beatles were on, like these indie labels. When the Beatles, before Capitol Records in America accepted and believed in the Beatles, they had on these labels like Swan, who Ronnie was on with one band, and he was on Parkway. But Beatles, but he was on these different labels. It's amazing how long career he had, and he just was a workhorse. Pretty incredible.
His voice never went away. I mean, I saw him on the last tour that he did with Black Sabbath. I mean, it must have been, I don't know, maybe less than a year before he passed, and so he was fighting that whole thing, and he still sounded like the first day that I heard him. I mean, it never went away for him, and that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, I think it's great. So tell me, guys, and Terry, you might be able to answer this question first, and that's explain how this will help raise money for the Stand Up and Shout Foundation, and what your goal is here for that.
So the goal is, to raise awareness for cancer, the prevention,
Yeah.
the detection, to support that Stand Up and Shout Foundation, and 100% of all the proceeds / profits from this song goes to the foundation. We're just donating it all.
Yeah. And I think that's great. Now,
Yeah.
because it worked out so well, as David said, and it was just a great group of guys, and it was, I guess effortless would not be the right word because there's effort involved, but meaning like it was no pulling teeth. It was not, it wasn't having to, everybody just fell into it and it worked out. There was a great synergy with everyone involved. Is it something you would like to do, continue, and maybe even tackle a few more of Ronnie's songs and maybe do something that's a bit of a bigger project, or maybe put a show together when you guys are able to go out and perform again and we get past this COVID thing?
Well, you're right, and Aaron said it just a minute ago, a while ago, serendipitous. I mean, really, that it was effortless. So all of us on this screen right now, the musicians, I haven't met any of these guys in person, and this is the first time I've actually seen a video of them. So, I mean, I've known about them, and Aaron and I and David have been doing some co-writes on some other music. So we already had a relationship, but these other guys, we don't know each other. So this brought us all together, and it was amazing how that happened and how easily that happened. I mean, we recorded this song, never being in a room together, all remotely. My vocal tracks, that was crazy. So just to give you, this is what happened. So we wanted to stay true to the spirit of, the passing, recording this during the passing of Ronnie Dio, the 10th year anniversary, and that's what 2020 is. And May is when that happened 10 years ago. So we said, well, let's record this song in May. And we did. We recorded it in May. But I've been doing recording with David down in Montclair, New Jersey, which is, COVID-19 eye of the storm. And it was like, ooh, I'm going to be coming down from upstate. Should I go down there? And so what we did was we arranged a situation where I decided, okay, I'm going to come down. I'm going to drive straight to New York City. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to drive right to the studio, go into the studio. The engineer at Magic Door, Ray Ketchum, he said, okay, Terry, I'll be in the control room. I'll be set up. Your door for your vocal booth is open. I'll have my mask on. Like, we never had any contact. I literally got out of my Jeep, walked into the studio, walked into the vocal booth. And then David Bendeth met us via kind of like a Zoom situation. So David was on the phone, on a computer, 2 miles up the street at his house. And we recorded this vocal track this way. It was crazy how that happened.
That's incredible.
But it all worked. And I didn't have enough time to finish the vocal track there, so I finished the remainder of it up in Syracuse with Ron Keck at Subcat Studios. And that felt good too, because it's like, 40 minutes outside of Dio country in Cortland, and it was just the vibe. And so that's how that was pieced together. But it was a great experience. Serendipitous, that's the word.
Now, David was mentioning earlier about it, the fact that you were in places where you could actually make noise, so you could go all out. Tell me about that, Will, where you are, where you can play drums. Is that your house? Do you have a small studio there? Or?
No. I got to go someplace else, man.
Yeah,
mainly, I can play drums here, and I do. I have this E-kit and some other shit around here, but I needed to go to a place that has some good preamps and good mics, get it right, and with an engineer guy that I know, and I'm doing something. Set. Yeah, you have to, man, and it's like, for me, if I'm doing something that's important, not just demoing something, I don't want to be on both sides of it. I want to play and focus on that, and it's good to have somebody else that can do the rest of it, So I went to another place, but I warmed up here and then went to the real place.
I think we talked about electronic drums for about 12 seconds, you and I.
Yeah.
It's a possibility, but
No, forget it.
Gotta be real.
Not going to work.
Gotta be
I will say, this is a funny thing, going back to working with Dave for a long time. So the very first project that I did with him was with this band, Silvertide. And I remember getting into like the first time I'm on the other side of the glass, first time he's on the other side of the glass, and we're playing. And I get through the take and I'm like, yeah, that's fucking awesome. He's going to love that. And he goes, hey, I got a question for you. It's like, why does it sound like you're playing in Florida and the band's playing in California? He's like, because that's about how on it you were. That's how close that was. And I was just like, holy fucking shit, man. So that was my entrance into working with Dave Bendeth. And then I said, funny story. Here we are, and I really am playing in Florida, and the rest of the band is all over the country, but it's working,
California.
Yeah.
Working.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's a great one. That's so. And David, I look forward to when I can come out and visit you again out there.
Yes.
And we can hit Cuban pizza, or what was that? What was that Italian restaurant I love? Was it Goodfellas, or what was it called?
Goodfellas.
Oh, man, that place was amazing. You and I had some killer dinners there.
I have to say, Matt really helped me through a very difficult period in my career. And I told him this the other day. I was doing the Elvis Presley record, and I just mixed it. And I hadn't played anything for anybody. And Matt came to the studio. He was told to come, I'm sure, to do a story, and we made friends instantly. We'd known each other. And I said, look, you have to just be honest. Is this any good? Because I hadn't played it for anybody. And he said, oh, yeah. He says, this is going to work. And he was the first person I played the Elvis Presley record to.
That's
so
awesome.
he really walked me through a very difficult time of unsureness in what my work was. And after he left, I felt so much better from then on. And thank you, Matt, for doing that.
Oh, thank you,
Great
David.
introduction.
Thank you, David. You did an amazing job. It was it proved out to be a worldwide hit and everything else, you know what I mean? So it was fantastic. I loved what you did. And our friendship has been absolutely unbreakable ever since, right, man?
Yes.
We knew each other, but then we were friends.
I phone him about every band I do. I always say, please, listen to this band. He's just a great sound. And we were both A&R people too. Matt was A&R for Columbia Records, and we both know that job and how difficult that job is. And so we have the same kind of, music has never left us for 1 minute. It's always been there, no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. We love it 100%. Thank you, David. I appreciate it, man, so much, and I'm so glad. This is perfect. You putting this great group of guys together here. Now, I want to.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead, Terry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I kind of went off on a tangent, but I never finished answering, would we, do some more Dio songs?
Yeah, that's why I was going to ask you that.
And absolutely, I would love to. I mean, I could do that every day of the week. Hey, let's do an Elf song. Let's do a Rainbow song.
Yeah.
So, maybe we will. And, I talked to all these guys and I said, hey, let's do this one-off project that's called LeRoi XIII. If it grows legs, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's, see what the rock community thinks. But I love these guys. I had such a blast, and I know that this would be a kick-ass band. There's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah.
So,
I'm down.
Yeah, dude.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah,
been
for
talking
sure.
about it, Will and I, and Will's been playing on some tracks that we're doing right now as well.
Yeah.
So,
And it sounds
Smoking.
amazing.
yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Smoking.
That's great, man. I want to say, guys, I think that'd be amazing. Is there anything else? Guys, I'd love you to talk in passing. Just kind of tell me I know it's derailed our business in a big way, but we're doing everything that we can, to do our best creatively and to support each other through this period of time where we're not allowed to tour and there's not live music, but we're finding ways to do great things like this. Tell me, when this COVID thing ends for each one of you, what is the first thing you want to do? And I'll start with you, Sammy.
I'm definitely looking forward to going back on the road. I think all of us here are definitely missing that a lot, but, this, the way I'm looking at it now, it's like the COVID thing. It's kind of, I think for a lot of musicians, it's kind of forced everybody to kind of find new pathways for themselves, So, for me, it's been all right. I've been doing a lot of teaching and stuff like that. So, it's been cool, man, but I'm definitely looking forward to going back on the road. I miss it a lot.
Yeah, well, we look forward to it too. How about you, Troy?
I'm looking forward to touring too, but I don't know. Maybe when all this ends, I'll just go to Hooters and watch football.
What'd you watch Sunday?
I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there.
Yeah, see you guys there.
I'm sure you were watching Sunday at home then, right? You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And how about yourself, Will? What would you like to be doing after this thing finally passes?
Oh, man, I mean, the same, you know, I'm ready to get back out. I mean, for us, and this is a funny story with Aaron, he probably doesn't, he may or may not realize this, but we didn't know Aaron back in November or whenever.
Oh, yeah, I know where this
Mexico
is going.
shit was. So, yeah, I mean, he was there, and what's funny is I just remember, I don't know what happened. What happened to you guys' dressing room there, man? You guys had it set up outside with your name.
Yeah, so
on
we
the
were
tent.
hanging out. It was at Knotfest. We were hanging out, and they had it set up to where certain people had certain dressing rooms for times, and ours, for some reason, we were like the one band that had a really, really weird dressing room time compared to when we played and how long we were there. And considering you're not just like, oh, well, guess I'll just go back to the hotel now. You know what I mean? It's like you're kind of there. So we literally just took everything out of our dressing room and moved it to the public mezcal bar that they had. And then we just put up our sign, and we were like, okay, well, you know, we like to have fun, but we're respectful. If anybody tells us to leave, we'll leave. But that's kind of our policy, and nobody came and told us to leave.
No, it was hilarious. They were having a great time.
We stayed there up until security said, hey, they're going to call the show. You guys need to, like, evacuate. And I remember you guys got the worst end of it, too, because you guys were ready to go. I remember you guys all had your in-ears because we were hanging out briefly before you guys went to stage. And I remember I was like, everyone's booing. They're right here. They're ready to go. And it escalated into utter calamity.
Yeah, my drum kit was firewood for a bonfire. You know, it's like all the stuff
in our cabinets.
Yeah, dude,
man.
it was
He was there.
and it was completely unnecessary. But you know, from my understanding, because you know we've toured with Slipknot, so you know we know that camp pretty well. They were just like, dude, the local crew on the ground and the people that set that festival up had no idea what they were doing. I mean, security was like 16 and 17-year-old kids. I was like, wow, you know,
they didn't have the barricades.
My laminate. I'm like, what are you going to do if I tell you no?
I know. They didn't have the barricades bolted together except for the front of the stage. So all the barricades and the crowd and on down the sides were going to break, and they were surging, and it was 3.5 hours past when we were supposed to play, and then that happened. And I bring that up because that was a precursor, little did we know, to the rest of 2020, because that just blew right the fuck up. So that's the last show that we didn't play. So to answer your question, when we do get back to this, we've got some unfinished business in Mexico. We got to go back there and, you know, play there and just get playing again, man. I mean, I know we're on the same boat, so I'm ready to do it.
I think that's great. And it'll be amazing. Aaron, make sure you say hi to CJ for me, too, when you
I will.
Again. You know, I love
one
CJ.
thing I want to do, I can't wait to play shows, but one thing I cannot wait to do, you know, I turned 32 in August. I want to go bowling.
Yeah.
I want to go
bowling
bowling
is
alley.
fun, man.
I want to get like a gigantic pitcher of beer, and I want to go bowling and just suck for like 3 hours. That's what I want to do.
Well, guys, I'd like to check out some of the footage right now of you guys recording this track. So let's take a really good look at the recording of Stand Up and Shout. That's some great footage right there of the recording of Stand Up and Shout. Great song, originally opening that album, Holy Diver for Dio, when he started the band Dio. And what a way to introduce himself, and what a great track for you guys to be doing. We're talking about, of course, Stand Up and Shout Foundation, all the money they've raised for cancer research, so important. 10 years since we lost Ronnie. Please make a donation if you can and help us raise awareness, so that if you can't make a donation, just let people know all about this incredible recording, and let's make sure we can do what we can in memory of the great Ronnie James Dio, who we lost 10 years ago to stomach cancer. I'm really happy to have you guys here. Thanks so much, everybody. Of course, Aaron Pauley, Will Hunt, Terry LeRoi, Troy McLawhorn, and the one and only David Bendeth, and of course, Sammy Boller as well. So, guys, great to have you all. Thanks so much for doing this. And I'm telling you, I am looking forward to an EP, career-spanning Dio covers from you guys. All right?
That would be great.
I would love that. And once again, I want to say thanks to everybody. Thanks for putting it together. LeRoi XIII. And David Bendeth, thank you so much for your time and all the stuff that you've done here. You know I love you, brother. And did a great job with this, with all the guys.
Matt, we really want to thank you too. Thank you. You are legendary, and to have you here with us is this made it. I mean, this basically just made it complete.
Yeah, it was
Really appreciate that.
It was great to work with all you guys. It made my day. That's for sure. Because
awesome.
Great group of musicians who I really love and respect, and doing a song that is just a timeless classic of metal. And so thank you so much for doing it, guys.